News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. A mother and a grandmother who both triggered an Amber Alert in April are scheduled to go before a judge today. 22-year-old Yaneli Morales Murillo and 38-year-old Maria Murillo Alvarez are making their initial court appearance on kidnapping and abuse charges in connection to the April 20th incident. KUTV reports each woman is facing 2 first-degree felony charges for child kidnapping, 1 second-degree felony for obstruction of justice, and 2 Class A misdemeanors for child abuse. Murillo is accused of kidnapping her 2 children after a court ordered Utah's Child and Family Services to take custody of them. She also checked Alvarez's 2 children out of school and fled. A caseworker with Family Services reported Murillo sent her a text saying her children had either been killed or they were going to be killed. The caseworker notified South Salt Lake Police, and an Amber Alert was eventually issued. Police canceled the alert later that afternoon after the women were apprehended. The children were recovered uninjured. Murillo and Alvarez were due in the virtual courtroom this afternoon. KBNU News Time is 4:06. KBNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy, scattered rain showers this evening. Slight chance of rain showers after midnight, low in the low 30s. And then partly cloudy, nice day tomorrow, around 60. It's only been to 47, and it's been in the 30s much of the afternoon. Temperature is creeping back into the mid-40s now. It's 44 currently at KBNU. 7,500ths of an inch of rain in the rain bucket from earlier. I think we've added to that with the rain and snow showers since then. But that does establish a new precipitation record for May 3rd. Weather brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. Really is the cleanest spot in town with larger capacity washers and dryers. They'll have you in and out quicker. Mount Logan Laundry.
The wind is whipping, rain is pouring, branches are falling, and it could hail at any minute. How could you leave your baby out in that storm?
Well, I can't park her in the house. Oh, baby, Daddy loves you. I'm so sorry. What can I do?
Call Northern Steel Buildings to protect your baby. We build custom agricultural buildings, barns, arenas, warehouses, and equipment storage that's built to last. Schedule a free consultation at northernsteelbuilding.com. That's northernsteelbuilding.com. Value from concept to construction.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. The Mormon History Association is having its 57th annual conference on the USU campus from June 2nd through 5th, and they are inviting the public to join them, according to the organization's executive director, Carrie Ann DeLoach. There is an $80 fee associated with the tour that includes meals. Visitors will have an opportunity to experience many of the sights, music, art, and the history of beautiful Cache Valley at its best. Some of the area's most notable historians will make the places and people come alive as they show places that some might not know existed. This history tour provides an opportunity for participants to learn about the Native American people and their connection with early pioneer settlers of Cache Valley. Participants will be able to visit the James Willie home. Willie was the leader of the Willie Handcart Company. The residence was built in 1859, and his gravesite is in the historic Minden Cemetery. Shoshone tribal leader Darren Perry will lead participants to Washakie, where the Northwestern Band of Shoshone farmed and resided for generations. The group will link up, too, with Hiram Museum Director Jamie Van Huss, who will share the history of Cache Valley, including Hiram, which was founded in 1860. And coronavirus cases are again edging upwards in parts of Idaho, prompting some healthcare officials to urge renewed caution for big gatherings. Dr. David Peterman is the CEO of Primary Health Medical Group, which includes 22 urgent care and family medicine clinics in southwestern Idaho. He says his clinics have seen testing positivity rates climb from 2% in March to nearly 11% last week. COVID-19 cases have been slowly increasing in nearly every state as the highly contagious BA2 subvariant of coronavirus spreads across the U.S. KBNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Breaking news and stimulating talk. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services. Let us guide you.
Do you have retirement questions about financial planning and investing, Medicare, estate planning, or complex tax strategies? Jessup Insurance can answer those questions. Let Jessup Insurance guide you into a better retirement. Call Jessup Insurance 435-213-3200 or Google Jessup Insurance.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services. Let us guide you.
Hey, everybody, coming up on the Wednesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show. My main man Clay back from vacation, and we have so much to discuss, including the monumental leak of a Supreme Court decision in advance of it being official that would overturn Roe v. Wade. What does this mean for the Democrats going forward? Will there be a federal law passed, perhaps, by Democrats on the issue? And how does it affect the midterms? That's coming up.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Serving overseas was just the beginning. We might be home from war, but our mission continues in communities all across the country. It's why we're out there in times of peace and crisis, providing meals to the hungry and supplies to the sick. It's why we're giving strength to those who are too weak and bringing resources to those without them. Service doesn't stop when we're done serving. It's what makes us the VFW. Learn more at vfw.org.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well. It's a pretty eclectic weather day out there here on May 3rd. One day away from Star Wars Day. By the way, movie theater, if anyone... I don't know of anything happening closer, but for my fellow Star Wars nerds out there, Broovies in Salt Lake City is doing... a Star Wars marathon tomorrow, starting at 10 in the morning, going till 7 at night.
Cool.
But they're only doing the original three, the best three.
Okay.
So
it's not an exhaustive list of everything.
No, episodes 4, 5, and 6, starting with the...
So they're just going to rerun those then?
No, it's just back-to-back. It's all day long. So they do the first one at 10, second one at like 2, and the third one at sometime just after 6 or 7 it starts, I think. I don't remember the exact schedule, but they've scheduled them so there's enough of a break in between each movie that you could run and grab some food or something like that. They, of course, have a restaurant.
Use the restroom as well or something. Yeah.
So they have food there as well. So no idea what tickets are. I'll admit I considered for a brief moment canceling all of my appointments tomorrow and making my way down
to Broovies.
I've never actually, despite being a huge Star Wars fan since I was, I think, 5 years old, I've never actually been a part of an in-theater Star Wars marathon. I've always wanted to see how the Lord of the Rings one was a bit much. They've done that one before too, but in fact, one theater here in Salt Lake did the extended versions, which ends up being like 15 hours of Lord of the Rings, something like that. Oh man, just too much.
So now where is Broovies They're in Salt Lake?
They're in Salt Lake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a restaurant that serves beer and it's a movie theater. So it's called Broovies, but of course you don't have to partake to go in and enjoy the movie.
Yeah, they don't force you to take
it's not mandatory, but I've never tried their food, but I've heard that their food is pretty good. Brew pub type food.
There you go.
So, but yeah, that is happening tomorrow. Everyone out there is like, wow, looking for something else. I've never done this myself. We will, in some way, shape, or form, celebrate Star Wars on the show tomorrow, but we haven't decided how yet. I've got some announcements to make as we start today's show. First off, on today's show, we will be speaking with Kevin Reeve of Cash Makers in a bit here. He is going to talk to us about, this is sort of a bookend interview to one we did earlier. I think it was the early part of last fall. We talked about this, but the Cash Makers and a local radio operator, amateur radio operators group, and I think USU is involved too in some way. They basically have been running these classes for kids, young people, male and female, in two different groups. And the girls' team, the young women's team, will launch their satellite balloon or their weather balloon this Saturday, and they're inviting the public to be a part of that. So they've built these complex systems, including some amateur radio technology and more, and they'll actually, after about 6 months of classes and workshops and then actual hands-on construction of these pretty high-tech weather devices, they're going to launch them with a weather balloon this Saturday, and they're inviting the public out to witness that and see their work go up. So we'll talk with Kevin about that in just a bit. On tomorrow's show, congressional candidate, challenger to incumbent Representative Blake Moore here in District 1, Andrew Badger, will join us on the show. He's running as a Republican, and there are others in the race, Tina Cannon, and then, of course, the incumbent Representative Blake Moore. Representative Moore will join us likely next week. He's also going to talk to us about the recent report published by the Debt and Deficit Committee that he serves on. And so he'll talk to us about that, as well as his campaign, how it's going. Tina Cannon will reach out and get her on soon. The primary, of course, underway. Ballots going out June 7th in this Republican primary. So everyone's paying attention to the United States Senate race. I get that. But here in District 1, we also have a Republican primary for Congress, as well as 2 county council primaries playing out at the same time. So pretty exciting stuff. But Andrew Badger, a name you'll see on your Republican ballot if you're registered to vote in this primary. He'll be joining us on the show tomorrow. Craig Peterson joining us later on today. His book choice this month for the For the People Book Club is a Mormon history book, which coincides with a bit you heard there in the news, Mormon history event happening at Utah State University in the coming days. So in light of that, Craig will be talking about, that's June 2nd and 5th, by the way, at USU. The 57th Annual Mormon History Association Conference on campus. And so in light of that, Craig will be talking about Mormon history book he's recently read in hour 2 of today's show. Republican candidate for Senate, speaking of that United States Senate race, Becky Edwards will join us on Thursday's show. Cache County Executive David Zook will join us tomorrow at 5 o'clock on Wednesday's show. It's just packed here during what is just serendipity. We didn't plan this, basically a candidate week. And then final announcement to make, we've been invited. It's a real honor to be able to be a part of these, even, a few times. But we've been invited to host, again, direct link with Governor Cox next Tuesday evening, right after For the People wraps up at 6 o'clock. This is a statewide event that is focused on rural areas. So we work in partnership with the Utah Broadcasters Association, rural radio stations, and others. And this is broadcast throughout the state. And it's meant as an alternative to that traditional Speak to the Governor event, which happens in Salt Lake City once a month, or usually close to once a month, which ends up being very Salt Lake City centered, including the callers. So Direct Link with Governor Cox is intended and promoted as a specifically rural event with the governor, unscripted, no town hall style rules, anything like that. It's basically just us, The phone line's open and calls from all around the state for the governor. So that is next Tuesday at 6 o'clock here on KVNU. And I'm happy to be able to moderate that event again. We did the last one, and it looks like we'll do 2 back-to-back. These move around the state, but schedule-wise and everything like that, it looks like we'll get a twofer back-to-back here that we'll be hosting and moderating that event next Tuesday. So there you have it. A week's worth of announcements from me here to start the show today. And we'll take our first quick break. On the other side, Kevin Reeve of Cash Makers talking about an event happening this Saturday that is the culmination of months of education, hands-on assembly, and dedication of some young people. And they will launch their project that they've been working on through Cash Makers on Saturday. They're inviting the public to attend this event. If you remember, we spoke with them several months ago as this whole course launched through Cash Makers, and now we'll have an opportunity to talk to them here at the end of this month-long project, just days ahead of the official launch, which, again, they're hoping everyone will come out and be a part of on Saturday. Kevin Reeve of Cash Makers right after this.
This Mother's Day, surprise Mom with flowers, dinner for 2, and a piece of jewelry from S.C. Needham Jewelers. Choose from a large selection of pearls, gold, silver, and diamond jewelry. Or you may find something special for her in our family jewelry collections. With Mother's Day this Sunday, consider an S.E. Needham gift card as a timely gift. With the purchase of $149 or more, you'll receive a spring bouquet of flowers and dinner for 2. Come shop today for the people and occasions that matter most. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
Adams Wealth Advisors' entire team says, thank you, Cache Valley, for voting them the best financial planner in the Best of Northern Utah competition. Honesty and integrity is the hallmark of Adams Wealth Advisors. Let them earn your trust today.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind, whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit adamswealthadvisors.com or call 752-1702 to schedule a time with an advisor today. Please see adamswealthadvisors.com for more information on these recent awards.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. I forgot, Bill, I had a music request today. I'll fill you in after the news.
Okay.
How about that? Sometimes you get in a mood and you just want to hear,
your best
things,
bump songs.
Yeah, and it wasn't the death metal, whatever that was.
Oh, okay.
No, it's exciting to come back to that because this is an exciting topic. This serves as sort of a bookend interview. I'm rarely organized enough to do this type of thing. I should do it more. But several months ago, we spoke with Kevin Reeve and others of Cash Makers about the launch of these space-related courses and classes that would be playing out over the next several months at the time. And here we have an opportunity today, just days ahead of the big final event for the Cash Makers Girls Space Camp. They're just days away from the official launch of their weather balloon. This will happen May 7th, and it is open to the public. They're hoping everyone will come out and be a part of this and enjoy not only something very cool to see, but also to celebrate the work of these young girls. Well, do you know what? I won't try to do it. We'll let Kevin do it. But this is a very high-tech, very hands-on thing, and it's a great example of what Cash Makers is all about in the first place. So, Kevin, happy to have you join us here again, sort of as a bookend from when we spoke last time when all of these courses were just launching. Tell us what the experience has been like.
Jason, thanks for having me. It has been a blast. What I've learned from this project as our young people, in this case we have 16 young ladies, the age of 11 to 17, they catch on very quickly to this STEM stuff. They have a blast, they dive right in, and it has just been an honor for all of us mentors to work with them.
I remember, Kevin, when we spoke several months ago, we talked a little bit about, you and others, why you founded the Cashmakers group and how small it started out, how it's expanded. But we spent most of our time that day talking about how technical and in-depth. I wish listeners could see the photos that I'm looking at here. For listeners, I've shared them on our Facebook page from the Cashmakers and Cash 4-H Facebook page. But just looking at what they're doing, half of the stuff in the photos I don't even recognize or know what it is. It just looks very technical.
Yeah, we when we first met that first night, and pretty much the girls, other than a few of them, didn't know each other. A couple of friends came together, but we put them in and we taught them how to solder. That's like soldering a little electronic circuits, and they built a little LED solder project, and they had a blast doing that. And then we got them on a microphone, and they talked on amateur radio. And then another project we did, we have some antennas that are focused on communicating with satellites that fly over the sky. And believe it or not, the International Space Station, many of the astronauts are amateur radio operators, and also there's what we call an amateur radio repeater system. In other words, you can talk through the radio system down to other people on Earth. So, and we were able to track the International Space Station, and the girls were able to point their antennas up in the sky and hear communications happening amongst people on Earth, but relayed through the International Space Station as it flew over Cache Valley. Now, how's that?
This is very cool. And to think that you said, there were some girls in this class as young as 11. So out there right now in Cache Valley is an 11-year-old girl that knows how to build a radio satellite. That's amazing.
Well, they don't know how to build actually the radio satellite, but they've learned how we can track them and figure out what's going on and listen to the conversation. And
that is so cool.
Yeah, and usually on weekend early morning, sometimes the astronauts are on the radio saying hi to people. So you just have to be at the right place at the right time. But what these girls, the whole culminating project is to assemble a payload, which included, we broke up into teams. Once we learned a bunch of stuff like soldering and interfacing sensors to an Arduino and tracking satellites and stuff, we broke up into teams, and the girls got to sign up for the various teams. One team is going to be responsible for getting that balloon filled with helium and launch it. Another group is making sure all the electronics are assembled and turned on, and the other group is responsible for turning the tracking electronics that are going to help us find this thing and track it as it goes up and comes down. And another group is working on right now running predictions. One of the big things that's still up in the air for Saturday is, if we launch this, where should we launch it, and where is the payload going to parachute back down to Earth?
Wow.
And so the Thursday will be our final get-together as a group, at least to get everything ready, and we'll button it up and turn it on and test it. And the girls the last couple of weeks had the opportunity to build a little electronic circuit with a display that will receive telemetry from the balloon as it goes up. So they'll know its latitude and longitude. They'll know how high it is. And they'll get some other parameters like temperature and luminosity and infrared and ultraviolet data back down just on a little small handheld receiver that they've assembled and loaded code into. So cool stuff.
That is amazing. This is and many, if not all, of these young women come at this with no prior experience in this type of thing, right?
Zero.
That is amazing. We talked, I remember, Kevin, several months ago about where young kids, can go with this type of stuff. Once, so this is a fun course for them that, you look at the photos. And again, listeners, I've shared the Facebook post from Cashmakers and Cache Valley 4-H on our Facebook page. You can also just simply search on Facebook for Cashmakers 4-H, find them that way. But looking at these smiles everywhere, everyone having a good time. Again, a lot of pretty unfamiliar equipment in their hands. I see solder irons on the workbenches in the background, things like that. And then they finish this course. They launch this Saturday. And the public is invited, right? You're hoping people will come out and witness this and also support these young women?
You bet. Anybody who's interested is welcome to come. Their families are coming. What we're looking at right now, you can see what flew through Cache Valley today, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy weather.
Yeah, it snowed
and we're not
for
going to
about
launch in that kind of weather. We're not going to have everything go up in smoke. We'll be like NASA and SpaceX, right? We'll delay the launch if it's not right.
Absolutely.
And so we'll post the location and details Friday night by 8 o'clock about where we're going to launch from. And we'll do it on the Cache Makers 4-H Club Facebook page for people. Then they can see where we're going to be. And then if we say we're go for launch, then they can check it early in the morning. We hope to launch by about 8:30 a.m. We like to launch in the morning and look at that. But there's some crazy wind patterns going on, and we use some software that's online that some really smart people, smarter than us, have developed. That you can go out there and you can put in on a map. You say where you want to launch. You put in your parameters for the type of balloon and how high you think it's going to go and how fast it's going to come down, and it'll predict its path. And the very first balloon flight we did about 6.5 years ago, it predicted where it landed within a half mile, which is amazing because you're just sending it up with no control other than how much helium you put in it and stuff. So we're watching that carefully because we do not want it to land up on Mount Logan.
Sure.
We don't want to snowshoe in and get it. So anyway, we're still up in the air just because of the weather patterns, but we'll have something there Friday night if we're go for launch, or Friday night, yeah.
And then, like you said, you want to do everything you can to have some control over where this comes down, right? But I remember you told us, Kevin, this might be, someone may have to travel, 70, 80 miles to retrieve the payload when it comes back, right?
Yeah, as we're looking right now, if we launched one of our possible options is Riverside, which is just over in Box Elder County. If you take the Valley View through there at a park there, we'd be going to Kennemer, Wyoming to pick it up. That's how but we're watching it. It's changing, and we can predict out a few days. And so we're even looking into next week, maybe a 5 o'clock launch or a 5:30 launch. Maybe next, Tuesday or Thursday if we need to because of bad weather. And a pattern then on Tuesday that we're seeing, if we launched at 5:30, we could launch in Wellsville and pick it up in Smithfield. So that kind of shows the type of weather that's happening around this valley right now.
It's very cool. This is fun to be able to talk about and spotlight here on the show. And again, for listeners, the planned launch of the resulting product, the project for the Girls Space Camp, just concluding through the Cache Makers organization, is planned for Saturday. As Kevin said, weather's pretty unpredictable, and there are some strange wind patterns that have set in. We had snow today for like 5 minutes here in Logan, so it may not happen Saturday. If it is pushed back, they'll make that announcement again on their Facebook page. I've shared that on our own, but you can find them just simply searching for Cache Makers 4-H on Facebook. You'll easily find them there, or just follow the link on our own Facebook page. You can also visit cachemakers.org, their website, and in addition to this project and announcements and connecting with their social media channels, you can also see upcoming classes and projects from the Discovery Station Time Warp, Nuts, Bolts, and Thingamajigs, which is one I kind of want to register for, robotics courses that are coming up in June, an entomology and science of clover buds. This is this is actual science, things that college students are learning, offered through the Cache Makers program to young boys and girls here in Cache Valley. So check them out, cachemakers.org. Again, planning the big launch of the weather balloon to connect with those radio satellites and then drop a payload somewhere between here and 100 miles away. This is a project built by young girls here in Cache Valley, some as young as age 11, through the Cache Makers Space Girls Camp program. You can find out how to register for programs like this and other programs they have coming up again at cachemakers.org. and one of the founders of Cash Makers here, our guest, Kevin Reeve. And Kevin, appreciate taking your time for us, KVNU today, and can't wait to check in, see how this goes when the payload returns.
It's a blast.
It's fun to talk about, and I'm so glad you guys are out there doing this for young people. Parents, if you want to learn more, again, cashmakers.org. You won't find a comparable organization here in Cache Valley as far as the projects and things you can be a part of and the careers that can come from this type of experience. Man, we could spend a full hour just listing them. Cashmakers.org. Thanks again to Kevin Reeve, our guest, and for listeners for tuning in. Stay tuned. We'll be back on the other side of these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:35, and the news is brought to you by U&I Furniture. State and federal officials are preparing for what could be a dangerous wildfire season in Utah. At a news conference Monday, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson said the state's drought emergency continues, even with today's precipitation. Reservoirs are low, and some may run dry again this year. Weather forecasts are calling for another season of above normal fire conditions.
And our lands are very dry, our soil is dry, and this is all setting us up for potentially a difficult fire year.
She urged Utahns to take steps to prevent wildfires. Last year, Utahns were very responsive to messages about drought and wildfire danger. The number of human-caused wildfires dropped 51%.
But we can't let our guard down. And right now, we need every single Utahn to be personally responsible for the way they to recreate responsibly, and to do their part to reduce these human-caused wildfires.
This year, wildfire season is starting earlier than expected. On Saturday, a 100-acre wildfire threatened the Great Salt Lake Marina. Authorities report it was human-caused. The exact cause remains under investigation. Firefighters say people can do a lot to prevent wildfires. They urged fire sense, including ensuring that vehicles do not have dragging chains and are properly maintained. Also, limiting target shooting and fireworks to the appropriate areas. A group of retired Idaho County sheriffs and police say Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeechan's association with extreme anti-law enforcement factions has prompted them to oppose her run for governor. The retired officials today announced the formation of a political action committee called Defend and Protect Idaho. The group says McGeechan's promotion of intimidation and violence threatens the rule of law. McGeechan is challenging first-term Republican Governor Brad Little. McGeechan in February delivered a taped speech to the America First Political Action Conference, a white nationalist gathering. She's also posed with members of the Three Percenters anti-government militia group. McGeechan did not respond to a phone message seeking comment. And experts say the conviction of a former Idaho lawmaker who raped a legislative intern was a rare victory for prosecutors in a justice system that can be fraught with trauma for assault survivors. Aaron Von Ellinger was convicted Friday of raping the 19-year-old last year. The Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network says only about 2.8% of sexual assaults ever result in felony convictions. Elizabeth Jeglick is a professor of psychology with the City University of New York who studies sexual assault, public policy, and the law. She says sex assault survivors can be further traumatized by the criminal justice process, and preventing sexual assault is key. KVNU News Time is 4:38.
Nothing better than a good night's sleep and a comfy chair to sit in. And they can help with both those things at U&I Furniture. A therapeutic mattress or something from U&I's full lineup of Maloof will increase your chances of a good night's sleep. And for the comfy chair to sit in, you need to visit U&I's Chair Heaven. So many chairs at U&I because they carry so many styles and kinds of chairs. And shoppers are always happy when they see the prices at U&I. For a good night's sleep or a comfy chair to sit in, visit the place where there's always a better buy, U&I Furniture, downtown Logan.
Well, thank you.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy, scattered rain showers this evening, slight chance of showers after midnight, low in the low 30s, and then a partly cloudy morning tomorrow, giving way to sunshine, clear skies, warmer temperatures around 60. Warmer still on Thursday, around 70 for the high. It's been to 47. Right now it's 45 at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Berenson Caldwell. If you've been in an accident, contact Berenson Caldwell for professional legal advice. Visit berensonlaw.com to instantly connect and receive a free case review of your injury. berensonlaw.com. For more details on these and other stories, visit cashvalleydaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Senior Branch Office Administrator Monique Benson bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of financial advisor Daryl Arnell and Edward Jones. U.S. stocks were higher today, building on Monday's late-day rally. The focus remains on the recent backup in yields and central bank tightening ahead of the two-day FOMC meeting, which began today. The 10-year Treasury yield retreated some after it broke past the 3% mark on Monday for the first time in more than 3 years. International stocks were mostly higher, but sentiment remains fragile amid global growth concerns. The Dow closed up 66 points at 33,127. The Nasdaq closed up 28 points at 12,564. The S&P 500 closed up 20 points at 4,175. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot was down $2.01 to $304.96. Lowe's Companies was down $1.51 to $201.63. Nucor was up $2.17 to $152.16. Thermo Fisher was up 80 cents to $546.32. Zions Bank was up 46 cents to $57.47. And Northrop Grumman was up $12.63 to $451.25. This has been the Daily Financial Market Report brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving financial investors in the Logan, Providence, and Smithfield area. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Wow, your cars look so shiny.
Thanks. I've been taking them to Green Gorilla Car Wash. Thanks to their new ceramic application, my cars have never had such a glossy shine.
Sounds expensive.
You haven't heard about their sale? Right now, their Jungle membership with ceramic coating is half off for every vehicle. Instead of $30 per month, I'm only paying $14.99 from now until September 2022.
That's almost a whole year.
I know. My half-price membership is good at both Green Gorilla locations in the valley.
I better head there now.
Here's Chad, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
Summer temps are here, the grass is seeding out, and the lawns have gotten stressed. With that being said, we'd like to introduce our new 2-service soil enrichment program to help increase the size and number of roots in your grass, which allows the plant to better use both the water and nutrients that are there, improving the health of the plant and helping the stress of this time of year.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call the lawn doctor at 753-LAWN or go to LawnDoctorCashValley.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Anita Chandra with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Helmets are important for every bike ride, no matter how short. Did you know helmets are also important to wear when skateboarding, inline skating, or riding a scooter? A helmet can protect against a skull fracture or other facial injuries. Look for a helmet that fits correctly and that's certified for safety. Make sure you and your child wear a helmet every time. For more, visit healthychildren.org or talk with your pediatrician.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. A first at Utah State University, and Mr. Craig Hislop is on it. As soon as we caught wind of this, Craig reached out. And the first is that a woman, Utah State University student, is about to get her doctorate in mathematics. That isn't a first. But what is that she was born deaf and later regained some of her hearing through a cochlear implant. And this is a first at Utah State University, someone with a cochlear implant, born deaf, graduating with a doctorate in mathematics. With the details, here's Craig.
Well, thank you, Jason. There always seem to be stories of great accomplishment among graduates at commencement time, and that is true this week at Utah State University. This week, as Natalie Anderson accepts her diploma at USU, she could be the first person in the world born with profound hearing loss to earn a doctoral degree in mathematics. Natalie is joining us. Natalie, when one of your faculty members told you that might be the case, what was your reaction to that?
Mostly disbelief, because there's 7 billion plus people in the world, and there's probably someone out there. But Jim and other people have really looked for someone else, and they haven't found any records of anyone else. So I may just be the first person of record, but not necessarily the first person.
Yeah. Now, there are people listening, and they just heard me say you were born with profound hearing loss. So how is Craig talking to her now? Tell us the story about how you speak well and you apparently hear me.
Well, that wasn't always the case. I currently have Bluetooth to my hearing aids, and I have you turned all the way up. And I don't hear every sound perfectly, but I can take it from context of what you're saying and hope I'm right. But it's just a lot of practice, speech therapy when I was a kid, and just I still have siblings now I'm the youngest of 5, and I have siblings, Emily in particular, who will stop and tell me I'm pronouncing something wrong and practice with me. I was saying dissertation incorrectly for most of my doctorate career, working on my doctorate, and then she had to stop me and say, you're not pronouncing it right.
Yeah.
So she'd practice with me.
I read that your parents didn't really know that you couldn't hear until you were about 3, and it sounds like a neighbor guided your parents to the Salt Lake campus of Utah School for the Deaf and Blind, and that's where I guess you started to get the help that you needed.
Yes, and it was a great opportunity in hindsight, because I was with 8 or 9 other kids that also had hearing aids and were also in the same boat. It wasn't common to do hearing tests on babies back in the day, and so we were all kind of in the same place, and it wasn't unusual to wear hearing aids and speak funny while you're trying to figure things out.
So, yeah, by the time you're age 5, you are now in a conventional kindergarten class, and that's where your journey to K through 12 went. And it sounds like you've accomplished a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, my parents were firm believers and just keep trying their best. And, it's not going to always be easy. So figure out how to get through the tough challenges. So I never thought I was unusual until Jim told me I was unusual, so I don't know how to take that.
Yeah, that's Jim Angelosi, the professor at USU. So you become a teacher, long story short, but you couldn't really sustain that as a career. Why was that a problem?
So if you think about it, it's almost like a second language where you are trying to understand everyone. And it takes a lot more energy to communicate and to read facial expressions, and from whatever sounds you do get, try to get it in context and respond appropriately. And doing that 8 hours a day with 200 plus students I was starting to get pretty bad headaches. And then I was very lucky to get shingles, so shingles is this virus you can get from the chickenpox later in life.
Yeah.
But I got it in my eye, of all places. And ever since then, I get really bad cluster headaches when I'm really trying hard all day to understand people and understand and communicate. So it just wasn't sustainable to do that for 30 more years.
Were you teaching when the COVID came on? Because I understand you're a pretty adept lip reader, but you can't read lips when everybody's got a mask on.
Oh, I cannot read lips at all. It was an interesting 2 years. So I was very lucky. I actually started my PhD in January 2020. So I left the classroom right then, which was actually perfect timing because we went virtual for classes at Utah State in March. And so I didn't have to go through that process of trying to read lips or, hidden faces. Thank you, Zoom. Zoom is actually a good thing, you guys.
So what's next for you now? This week you'll get your doctorate officially. What will happen from that point on?
I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. Right now I'm teaching at Weber State University, and I'm also the concurrent enrollment coordinator, meaning I work with the local high school teachers who teach concurrent enrollment classes for Weber State. I would like to do that for another year, and then I will test the waters and see where I go next. I don't really have a 5-year plan. I just kind of go wherever the wind blows me.
Is the teaching at Weber State a little bit different of a challenge then, or?
It hasn't been too bad because the particular class that I teach is a little bit unorthodox in that we just do a lot of task-based activities and we do a lot of group work. So instead of just straight up lecture, I rove around the classroom and help individual groups, which is it's actually a lot of fun. So, but it's only for an hour a day versus, teaching high school for 6 or 7 hours a day. And I only interact with maybe 30 people, which is a lot less fatiguing when you're trying to understand and communicate.
Yeah. Well, that's Natalie Anderson, and she will graduate with a doctorate at Utah State University in mathematics. Jim Cangelosi is still searching her, I guess, kind of a mentor and a faculty member saying that you just don't see this happen in the world with what she's accomplished. And it's really, Natalie, an inspirational story. We thank you for taking some time to tell us about it, and good luck the rest of this week.
Okay, thank you so much.
Let's get back to Jason and Bill now.
Thank you, Craig. And very cool story, inspiring story. I actually have a family member, one of my cousin's kids, with a cochlear implant, and I'm going to make sure they get a chance to hear that interview because it's inspiring, I think, to hear that. Some of the challenges that come along with this would, of course, be an excuse for anyone to just sort of hold back and maybe not pursue a dream or a goal. And there's a story of one woman that definitely didn't hold back.
And as far as famous people, I mean, wasn't the late Rush Limbaugh? Didn't he have that done?
Yeah, in his latter. Well, I don't remember. He was older when it was done. I know, and it's done for a lot of different reasons too. And the technology behind it is amazing. One thing I will tell you though, I learned this from my cousin and his daughter. Wicked at Lagoon. So there's a little magnetic device that's a part of a cochlear implant. Wicked at Lagoon, the speed of that as you bottom the hill or as you launch, it is enough. Or she lost. I think he said it was about a $4,000 piece of equipment that just kind of flew off the side of her head as that Wicked ride launched. So that little warning there.
So it was really wicked.
Yeah, if you or anyone else has a cochlear implant, want to avoid some unnecessary expenses, you can buy them, but they're expensive replacements. But that launch on Wicked at Lagoon is enough to separate the magnets. I wouldn't have thought so, nor did he, and nor did the specs of the device. But it is still one of the coolest rides, too. Man, just jumping all over the place here. But thank you, Craig. An inspiring story. Love to spotlight that kind of stuff here on the show. And also, always great to hear Craig's voice as well. So we'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Welcome to everyone's metal store, Palmer's Metal Mart. Now, those of you that have been around for a while, don't let the name fool you. We are the same Metal Mart you've come to know for almost 30 years. We've just added a bit to our name, Palmer's, in honor of our late founder. And it is added to the Metal Mart name as a promise to continue the legacy of everyone's metal store. Palmer's Metal Mart was founded to make sure everyone had access to great steel products at competitive prices. So for almost 30 years, Palmer's Metal Mart has been the place to go for steel, metal roofing, rebar, aluminum, and so much more. For orders big and small, Palmer's Metal Mart is your place. So come on in and let's get your metal project started. If it's metal, pretty good chance you can find it here. Amazing selection, excellent service. That's everyone's metal store, Palmer's Metal Mart. In Lehigh and Logan, visit us online at palmersmetalmart.com. Call today in Lehigh, 801-768-3332. And in Logan, 435-363-9001. See you soon at everyone's metal store, Palmer's Metal Mart.
Come celebrate Cinco de Mayo, Thursday, May 5th at the Cache County Fairgrounds. Take part in the Mexican culture with traditional Mexican folk dancers and singers. Enjoy the rhythm of mariachi bands and move to the beat of Zumba. Choose from several food trucks to satisfy your appetite and incredible authentic Mexican treats. Bring the kids. We've got bounce houses, climbing walls, a mechanical bull, and traditional Mexican piñatas. The party gets started at noon on Thursday, May 5th. Cinco de Mayo is presented by Members First Credit Union. Our name says it all. Auto Leave, now hiring for all northern Utah locations. Auto Leave saves lives. DD Auto and Salvage, scrap metal to automobiles. DD Auto Salvage gives you money for your old metal. iFit, a global company committed to diversity and inclusion, welcomes everyone to celebrate Cinco de Mayo with the community this year at the Cache County Fairgrounds. Thursday, May 5th from noon till 8.
The Logo Shop invites you to sign up for a foursome and support the Logan Schools Foundation Slough in the Rough Golf Tournament, scheduled for Friday, May 13th. It's a great morning of golf at the Logan River Golf Course while raising money for the students and teachers in the Logan City School District. Contact Shanna Longhurst at the district office to sign up or just email shanna.longhurst@loganschools.org. The Logan Schools Foundation Slough in the Rough Golf Tournament, Friday, May 13th.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Coming up in hour 2, Mr. Craig Peterson joining us here in the studio for the People Book Club. This is a once-a-month event here on the show where we basically just let Craig do his thing. Whatever he is reading or enjoying, as a person who reads on average, I think he said, at least a book a week, he just picks one of his favorites, and talks about it. And he'll be talking about Mormon history, a history book that he's recently read on the church, coinciding with, as you heard during the news break at the top of the hour there, an upcoming Mormon history event, the Mormon History Association at Utah State University, holding their 57th annual convention on June 2nd is when that starts. So pretty cool stuff there. Also, again, you have Hiram Museum involved in this. I reached out to them. We'll be speaking with them again soon about this and more. But the Mormon History Association Conference, the Hiram City Museum is offering a coinciding tour. So June 3rd through 5th, again, when this conference happens. And Hiram Museum will be doing sort of a tangential, well, not even that, directly related, but sort of a bonus event to go along with this conference. And so, again, the conference June 3rd through the 5th, and Hiram City Museum is going to be, they've got a huge collection that's pertinent to this type of a conference. And so they're going to extend their hours and do a sort of a pre- and post-conference tour. And this will be open to the public, of course, meaning that you don't have to be a Mormon History Association member. or even register for the conference. If you're interested in attending the tour, they're only asking that you pay the tour fee. So very cool stuff. And again, this will be the topic of the For the People Book Club, as Craig Peterson, our guest next hour, has chosen a Mormon history book for this month's installment of the For the People Book Club. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Reminder again, coming up later on this week, we'll be speaking with Andrew Badger, candidate for Congress, Republican candidate for Congress in the current primary here in District 1. We'll be speaking with Becky Edwards, Republican candidate for United States Senate in the primary throughout the state. Governor Cox coming up next week. Blake Moore, Congressman Blake Moore, will join us to talk about the published report of the Debt and Deficit Committee he serves on. Kind of a lot, basically, coming up, and that's just what I can remember right now. All right, hour 2 of today's show right after this here on KVNU Logan.